Hi guys, welcome to another video. So this is the first one that I'm publicly putting out. The last one I just uploaded on the YouTube. It got a decent number of views on its own. I don't know how. Maybe people searched for my name on the YouTube. But I was very excited since I mean I have almost received 200 plus emails on my LinkedIn asking me to build these videos. So I thought why not? Let's do it for the community. So basically in these videos I want to share my learnings which I have gained over last 7 plus years in investment banking and generally in finance. My short story is I started investment banking at 18, got into JP Morgan IB team at 20, cleared my CA final with an All India rank 42, post which I was working as the first employee of a newly founded startup called Una Prime, which was run by managing directors of private equity fund like Everstone, Ascent Capital, one of the largest investment bank Investec. So these folks came together. I was the first junior hire for their team. Then started on my own, raised money from a US based venture capital fund called Emergent Ventures. But I think the pressing point which a lot of people reached out to me was for how does somebody get into the field of finance and investment banking in specific as a fresher or without much experience, and how did I crack it? And I would say there are different ways which different people have utilized. But I think over time, if you can build a consistent habit of putting in the effort of being curious, I'll tell you the ways to do it. You would be successful in your endeavor. Uh, so, first point that I wanted to bring was how do you utilize your environment to learn more? And I think a lot of people just miss out on this very basic thing. So I had hostel mates who were in audit and taxation. Right now, you would wonder how can somebody learn about finance from these people? But I think those people around me, the 500 people that I had in my hostel, they were the most useful resource or most useful learning source for me during that time. Uh, I almost had a person for any industry, any company that I could think about. If I wanted to learn more about pharmaceutical industry, I would go to somebody who is auditing the pharmaceutical industry. I had a friend who was auditing Phoenix Mall, so he would tell me about the mall business. And I was curious to learn, right? So I kept asking questions, and that's how I gained most of my knowledge. And this knowledge that I gathered from bits and pieces from all of these information, I was able to uh, combine them in a way where I was having a point of view of my own after a certain point of time. And this point of view really helped me in cracking most of the interviews because whenever I was speaking in an interview, I had that confidence. I had an understanding of a sector. I had an understanding of an industry, which even they didn't know, right? Because I had insiders giving me that information, insiders sharing with me how an industry actually functions. Uh, and I think that was the most beautiful thing ever about the CA course. And I think generally also, if you talk to your friends, half of your friends would have a family business. Try to understand what their family do. Their parents would be working somewhere. Try to understand what is the job of their parents. And bit by bit, you will develop an understanding which will be comprehensive over time, and which will help you to build a point of view, right? Everybody knows, and this is like a more complex process to gain understanding from your friends, right? But what are the straightforward ways to do it? So, one of the most straightforward ways is to read industry reports, and which I'm sure a lot of people among you are aware about, but a lot would not be because they are not from the finance world. So, we have in the finance world a lot of investment banks who actually publish reports about different sectors, right? So, Avendus, which is one of the largest investment bank, has on their website almost every sector covered. You would get a report on electric vehicles. You would get a report on direct to consumer online businesses, which you see today spreading. Get a report on almost every sector that you can think of. I told you one source, there are many other sources. You can just search for a report, type PDF at the end, and you'll get 4 or 5 reports on every topic. There's a free website called IBEF, which has reports on every sector. People don't utilize these sources to gather a basic understanding of any industry, which is very useful when you are trying to read newspapers also, right? Newspapers have high level of information, right? Maybe that newspaper information would not make much sense to you. So I think this is a very good beginning point for any person who wants to get into the finance field, read industry reports, read brokerage reports, which are freely available. There's this subscription that you can take, Bloomberg Quint subscription. This is just 4,000, 5,000 bucks a year or for 2 years, and you get so much knowledge, right? And if you get a good job, which would be 15, 20 lakhs, it's easy to recover these small investments. And this is an investment worth making. I think a lot of people just uh, care a lot about saving these days, making investment in stock markets. So these kind of investments in yourself will pay much more than investment in stock markets would. And make investments to develop your taste, because those are the most important investments you can do in the age of 20 to 25 to 30, right? Then another very good source is Twitter. And I think I've seen very few people on Twitter, especially in India. Even like I think 5% of my friends are on Twitter, and probably 50% of them use it actually diligently. But I think Twitter has helped me a lot in terms of understanding what are the new trends. I would follow for everything that I was curious about 50 people who would just give me pure insights, because these people are insiders, right? They are operating within that company, or they are operating within that industry. They have been investment bankers for 10 years. They have been operating in airline industry for 5 years, whatever is the case, right? These people really tell you the raw data, raw details available in a very frank manner on Twitter. I really recommend podcast, which is the section 4 I want to cover. I think podcast helps you to get a very detailed understanding of what a person thinks about a sector. Tweets, news articles give you that high level of understanding, because they are like 1,000 words at max, right? Uh, but these podcasts actually capture in an hour conversation minute details uh, about different events. So there's this podcast called Invest Like the Best, which I used to listen a lot when I was doing my article show. And it really helped me crack a lot of industry and learn more about investing in general. Second, I think a very newly run podcast, All In Podcast, which is four stalwarts discussing different news items every weekend, which I really love to watch. Uh, it's yeah, be it finance, be it investing, be it any news item which is generally running, which can impact the world and economy in general. So they cover that. So I think these podcasts and business articles uh, really give you good insights about any topic that you can think of. I think all of this are very useful and will really help you in building an understanding of the business and finance world. But I think you can utilize them in the best way only when you are actually creating an output. So after you read a book, or after you listen to a podcast, or after you speak to a friend, try to share it with others in whatever way possible. Maybe you can just share it through your friends in articleship, or CA professionals who you are working with, or your colleagues. Uh, but also try to put it out on LinkedIn, try to put it out in a blog format, try to share it in a tweet as an insight, try to share it with your friends on Instagram, try to create a reel on it. Once you start creating these outputs, you actually crystallize and synthesize your knowledge in a much more better way. You'll realize that when you were taking down that information, when you were listening to that information, you actually didn't listen so properly, because this is new information, right? We need to understand that once we all get these new sources of information, all the information seems very attractive and we feel that we are understanding everything. But once we actually sit down to produce or create something, that is the time when we realize that, okay, there are gaps in our understanding which we need to fill. And then you will do the research, then you will do the extra legwork, which will fill that gap. And I think that is the time when you actually really get an overall good understanding of a sector, which can help you to present your views confidently in front of anyone after that process is complete, after you've created, written, or produced something. So I would really recommend doing that.